Our beloved copyright-infringed character, Count Dracula / Count Orlok / Nosferatu returns. A movie I recently reviewed and did not care for, even though it sits at a beautiful 80-some% on Rotten Tomatoes, with 70-some% of the audience also agreeing that it's good. The theater I was at had a different type of audience, one that was constantly rocking their feet to stay awake, others outright snoring during the picture's run. And while I wasn't slapping myself to stay awake, I certainly wasn't that engaged all the same. Now I want to break down why exactly this film didn't work for me, and a little bit of the discourse I come to expect in my comments. Let's begin. Before I dive in, I want to let you know there are going to be spoilers aplenty in this video, so if you haven't seen the movie Nosferatu, I recommend you go out and watch and make up your own mind, unless you just respect my opinion that much that you know you're one-to-one, where we're brain linked in. Probably not the case. I always encourage people to make up their own minds on film. I never, unless it's like a really horrible, crappy Netflix streamer where I know it's just made for a cash grab purpose, I typically say, watch it, make up your own mind. The internet is a beautiful tapestry of different ideas, concepts, minds being molded and shaped, and hearts being won over. It's also a place of vile, disgusting rhetoric, bad faith commentary, and a bunch of little whiny bitches who call you names because you didn't like a movie they liked. That's reasonable. Listen, this channel's called Adam Does Movies for a reason. I cover mainly mainstream stuff. I don't pretend to be a film snob holding a chalice of wine, waxing poetically about all the different nuanced camera angles and thought-provoking shots a director like Eggers portrays in his movies. Now, that's not to say I don't appreciate it. That's not to say I can't also love films made by directors such as he. In fact, The Northman was a favorite of mine in 2022. The Witch is a movie I've seen a couple times and absolutely adore. And so it's a little bit frustrating and kind of sad when those that don't agree with an opinion have to resort to ad hominem attacks. Have to resort to petty things like, this guy doesn't understand history. He doesn't realize it's based on a book or a 1922 black and white silent film that I have in fact seen. So that's a little annoying. When it's just straight up incorrect facts about a person, but whatever, that's neither here nor there. I try to ignore it for the most part. But the point I wanted to get across is this: I don't pretend like my opinion is better or worse than anyone. Yes, I might present it in a way that seems like it because I'm trying to be strong with my opinion and my approach, but I would never belittle someone for liking something I don't. In fact, I have a bunch of buddies who are also movie critics, and we butt heads all the time, disagreeing about films that each of us likes and the other doesn't. Who cares? That's what's fun about talking about movies. Nosferatu is one such film where I saw a lot of my peers giving high praise to this. It makes sense. It is a gorgeous looking movie from front to back. There are some good performances. I do disagree. Lily Rose Depp did a good job here. I thought it was comical. I thought it was way over the top, silly at times. I was kind of rolling my eyes at her performance, but she's also up for some awards. So what do I know, right? What do I know? Well, I know that I like to go to movies with my buddies and like to talk about films. And I also know it's easy to point at past reviews and use that as a way to discredit someone. Oh, well, Adam thought Moana 2 was fine, or Despicable Me 2, or, you know, like there's ways to just discredit completely because you go to a basic kids movie and use that as some sort of a gotcha moment. Or, oh, Adam didn't like the highly critically acclaimed Godzilla -1. He's a hack. He's doing it for the wrong reasons. He wants rage bait and rage views. That's actually the opposite of what I want. I would love an echo chamber. I would love to be talking to a bunch of people that agree with me. There's nothing better than a nice comfort blanket around a person when you can put out a video and you just get your belly rubbed and a bunch of people are like, wow, what a great review. I might disagree with you on this. I actually loved Nosferatu, but I can see where you're coming from, and you presented it in kind of a fun, playful way, not too serious, because at the end of the day, we're talking about movies, people. But I do find people comment and say, Adam's doing this because he wants the rage bait clicks. No, I will put a title out there every time now because I want people that saw the movie, since I don't see films ahead of time. I'm going with you guys when they come out almost 99% of the time. I want people that see that movie to go on YouTube and search for their frustration and find a voice that agrees with them. That's why I put that out. And it becomes more prevalent when you have a movie that's getting high marks, so I am going to stand out more amongst the pack. I also do think Nosferatu is a movie that is an easy one to praise because it technically does everything so well, but for story, it's missing the mark completely. Let me dive into that a little bit. So Nosferatu, obviously a period piece. It takes place in 1838. We're going to be following the Hutter family, Thomas and his wife Ellen. The movie is going to take a dumb amount of time to get going, and it's going to focus. It's going to linger on mainly beautiful looking shots of people slowly going through the motions of doing things, but I'm not getting a lot of substance here. I don't know much about Thomas and his wife other than they seem happily married. However, Ellen seems to also be very smitten with a guy who's seeing her in her dreams, to the point where she's convulsing in an orgasmic nature throughout the entire runtime. But a good half hour or so is going to be focused on Thomas mainly and his trek to Transylvania, where he's going to be meeting up with a new client, Count Orlok. Orlok's planning on a big move. He's going to head into town and actually go right across the street from the Hutters family. He just needs this deed to get approved. This is a fine start. I'm on board. Visuals are, of course, great. The music's very haunting, really drawing me in. Again, I love the Northman. I love the Witch. Getting that same kind of vibe. I don't mind a slow-moving film, as long as there's some intrigue, as long as it's going to take me somewhere interesting. However, after everything at Nosferatu's castle is done, I'm left feeling empty with this movie. I'm not connecting to a single character. Even Thomas, who I mean, Nicholas Hoult is great. His character is really not much of anything. He's just kind of there. And as for Bill Skarsgård as Nosferatu, Bill, who I really liked as Pennywise and haven't really enjoyed him ever since, The Crow was atrociously bad, here he is really hamming it up as Nosferatu. Slowly speaking everything, wheezing heavily as he talks, kind of warping around the room as Thomas is chillingly sitting there, not sure what to do. Truth be told, that's the best scene in the film. Even if I wasn't really on board with how Orlok was being played, I still enjoyed the atmosphere here. I'm not sure if the shot of the prosthetic penis was necessary. I don't know what that really brought to the table. I guess some sort of vulnerability for the character, since Thomas later on will get spooked out and try to leave his establishment, only to find himself in front of the coffin where our dark prince is sleeping at night, our king. Thomas tears off the cover and he's about to impale this guy when pop goes the weasel. He comes to life and you see him in all of his splendor. And I have to say, based on the prosthetic alone, I don't really understand what's so great about this guy. I mean, really, Ellen? I know size isn't everything, but believe me, I know. But him? We got to talk about the mustache in the room for just a second. Now, I know it's accurate to the original story. This is a regal gentleman. They had mustaches back in the day. People were like, it's historically accurate. Maybe learn a thing or two, educate yourself. That doesn't mean it translates well to film. If the overall impression I'm supposed to get from this guy is fear, I'm not getting that. I'm laughing at it. It looks ridiculous. Even if it's true to the story, that doesn't mean it works well when translated to film. It's the same reason Hugh Jackman's Wolverine didn't wear yellow spandex for like 20 years. They couldn't make it work right. And yes, it did look great in Deadpool and Wolverine, but that's a much looser, funner storyline with a lot of comedy, and I think it just made sense there, as opposed to putting a bunch of different colorful X-Men characters in the Bryan Singer films back in the day. He did, I think, the best he could have at the time. So when it comes to the mustache, sure, might be historically accurate, might make sense to get it as close to possible as the source material. I found it dumb, and that's the message it conveyed to me on screen watching it was, I don't care about this guy. He's not threatening. He talks super slow. There's nothing really sinister or menacing here that's moving the needle for me. This is going to take Thomas across the courtyard where he's chased by a couple of crazy looking dogs. And then he's going to actually fall off the side of the castle wall to presumably his death. But no, he's actually fine. He washes up ashore later, where a group of nuns find him, clean him up, get rid of any sort of vampiric curses that are all over his body, since we found out Nosferatu was feasting on him. Nosferatu latches on to the chest area, the chest cavity, and this guy is going to town. He's loving every minute of it. I'm loving every minute of it. Loving every minute of it. Loving every minute of it. The time frame this all happens in is also suspect. I'm not really sure how much time goes by. It's possible I was drifting in and out of sleep and didn't realize it and just missed some of the key ingredients that would lead me to know that this was days or weeks or even months. Thomas took a horse to get there, but then he had to go on foot after some hippies blew out a Dodge with his horse and left him for dead. Now that the dirty deed has been done dirt cheap, Count is able to get himself all gussied up back in his coffin, and he's going to be traveling via ship over to the quaint little fictional town of Wisburg. This is where I started to question things. He's taking a ship over there? The other dude took a horse. How far away is this? How did he even get on this ship to begin with? What people is he consulting with to make this move happen? I don't know how anyone's in the room with this guy for more than 5 seconds, takes a look at him, hears him speak, and doesn't bolt immediately. Who's he talking to at the shipyard to make this happen? We don't find out. I assume he uses his vampiric glamour to make it happen, but whatever. He's moving on with his life, and so am I. During the ship cruise, he is going to kill a couple people. There is a startling moment where a guy walks down into the hull of the ship, and that's going to be one of the big jump scares. There are several in this movie. Another big problem I have with the film is it's just not scary. It's not eerie. I don't mind jump scares. I think they're kind of lazy, but they're also fun, and they get the blood moving. But I do appreciate a movie that's just disturbing. It kind of keeps you on edge. You get chills while you're watching it, maybe a little bit of a sweat even. This did none of that for me. Again, I appreciate how it looked, but it did not elicit any sort of fear, real concern because I didn't get connected with anyone in the movie. It's just there. Willem Dafoe enters the picture at some point during this. He's Professor Albin. And this dude acts like he's in a completely different film. He just has this almost stage play presence to him. And that's where the tone is a little off for me in this movie. Some people playing it a little bit more straight man like Nicholas Hoult. Others very extreme with the pageantry. And I've seen Willem Dafoe play this kind of character in like the last 5 movies. It's starting to wear thin on me, and I love Willem Dafoe. But between Poor Things, Beetlejuice, Nosferatu, I feel like I see him doing the same kind of role over and over again. Anyway, he's gonna be your stereotypical smart man scientist guy in the room that knows exactly what's happening, and he warns everyone else, and no one, of course, believes him. And so we're gonna deal with this for the remainder of the film. The last 45 minutes or so, I felt was incredibly lackluster, very slow moving, not a lot of interesting stuff going on, and we're just focused on so many scenes with Ellen spazzing out, drooling, eyes rolling in the back of her head. All the while, characters like Aaron Taylor Johnson are like, nah, she's fine, there's nothing happening here. Aaron Taylor Johnson's character, Frederick, will end up losing his entire family, his kids, and then his wife. They'll all be buried next to each other in a very beautiful, tasteful area in the cemetery that Frederick will visit and then proceed to perform some necrophilia on his dead wife, as one does. That was definitely a thought-provoking moment in the movie that I needed to see. Real champagne cinema stuff here. And again, I don't even have a problem with the shock factor stuff. It's just I wasn't at a point with this character where it made sense for him to do that. And that goes back to Thomas, who has no problem betting his wife not more than 10 seconds after she's basically being taken over by an evil demon creature, speaking random nonsense, eyes rolling back, she's convulsing, she's seizing out. He looks at that and he goes, well, now this is the only way I can achieve climax. There were some good concepts here that weren't really fully fleshed out at all, such as tying the Black Plague into Nosferatu. He is the one that brings on all the rats into the town. That was fun. That was interesting. It wasn't fleshed out, though. I didn't really see the aftermath of what happened. Because this is first and foremost a movie about an undead dude simping over a single woman, it's Twilight for the film fanatics. It's a Beauty and the Beast, but without the whimsical music and talking teacups. The movie ends in an incredibly stupid way, in, of course, my stupid opinion. Nos, after slaying Frederick Harding's family, has Ellen all to herself. Thomas is off with the other bros trying to track down a MacGuffin of sorts, and this is intentional. Professor Albin presented a red herring to get him away from his wife Because the professor knows the only real way to stop Nosferatu is through the power of love. It's just the power of love. That's right. 'Twas beauty killed the beast. It's up to Ellen to get this guy so horny that there is no way he's gonna recall what time it is outside, and he's gonna get completely played by this woman after, of course, he bangs and feeds off of her for many, many hours. I mean, I think he went out the way a lot of guys would like to, but still, he played himself. In the final moments of the film, Orlok is left sucking whatever remains of the blood in this woman's body while she's like, just a little bit longer. There's a little bit more to give. Don't look over the window. Don't look out the windows. Right here. There we go. And before you know it, it's too late. And he dries out like a prune on a hot summer day, which leads us to our final shot, a tasteful bird's eye view looking down on this decrepit, disgusting, disfigured man who is completely withered away and clearly skipped leg day. And at that point, I looked around the room to see folks snickering, some getting nudged by their significant other to wake up. And I thought to myself, you know what? I'm probably not going to be alone on my review. I think that I might actually reach a few people with this one. And again, perfectly fine if you loved it. There's a lot of people that do. I don't discredit those tastes. I just did not see the appeal this time around, and I wanted to love it. I really did. I went in with an appreciation of this director, and I thought for sure he was going to knock this out of the park. But unfortunately, 'twas not the case. Now I want to hear from you, if you could, in a somewhat respectful manner, because I'm not insulting your intelligence or knocking you for liking the movie. If you disagree with me, just give me your opinion why. We don't need to strike each other down. I love to have disagreements. That's why I had a show years ago called Movie Feuds with a co-host, and that's exactly what we did. We argued over the pros and cons of a film. That's fun to me. What's not so fun is just attacking on personal beliefs or whatever basis they think they have going for them. It's lazy. It's sloppy. All right, thanks for watching the video. Please like the video and subscribe if you appreciated the content. I have more videos to come almost every day on the channel. It's quite a production over here, and I would appreciate it if you stuck around. And with that, I take my leave.